Welcome back to Moms Behind the Brand. I'm your host, Jasmine Swinton, and today we have an incredibly inspiring guest with us. Joining us is Chasmine, an entrepreneur, author, and founder of Finding Beauty Within. As an elite woman leader, minister, and mentor, Chasmine is a powerful force in the world of business, entertainment consultant, and purpose producing, bringing unparalleled expertise to the table. In 2018, her talents as a celebrity makeup artist got the spotlight on shows like Growing Up, Hip Hop, Atlanta, WeTV, The Word Network, Atlanta Live, and the BET Awards. Embracing her passion for empowerment, she has mentored and coached 15 brand ambassadors to launch their own ventures. Chasmine, welcome to the show. I'm about to say my name, which is Jasmine. I'm like, get it together.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. I was so excited to get to speak with you and learn about your journey. We can hop right in. You share your journey of entrepreneurship and how you got started.
How did I get started? I think that I have absolutely worked in every field you can name, from education. I used to be a federal agent, and I also worked in corporate America. I've also done manual work. It didn't last long, like a month, maybe 2 months, but that was it. I wasn't too good with that. But I was a federal agent back in 2018, and around 2019 I quit my job as a federal agent. I was like, look, I can't do this. I don't know if I'm not fit for a job or what I need to do. And I started focusing on makeup again because I got certified from doing makeup in 2018. So 2019, I'm like, okay, I can do full-time makeup. And I started a boutique right before COVID. I made six figures in that boutique. Took a lot of time, but and I don't, believe it or not, I don't like being behind the camera, like, well, in front of the camera. I rather work behind the scenes. So it was different. It was different coming from working behind the scenes. And after I did that, I kind of felt my flow. Entrepreneurship, I tell people, it is a faith journey, a very faith journey. The average millionaire, as we know, have seven streams of income. But when we say seven streams of income, we don't mean that you're working seven different jobs. That means you have seven ways of money flowing in, whether you're working it or you're making passive income. So my goal since 2019, when I stopped being a federal agent, was to develop ways to have passive income. I'm also part of a network marketing company called One Voice Worldwide, where that is passive income for me. And I get ongoing training and ongoing coaching. And I just tell people, if you have a mentor or you have a coach and they don't have a coach, you need to find a new coach.
Right. Say that. Now, when it comes to being an author, how do you incorporate that into everything that you have going on?
So being an author opened up avenues for you to speak. So that's what helped me develop my speaking skills, talking about my book, because my book covers every area, whether it's personal development, whether it's spiritual development. If you're trying to make it in the marketplace, if you're trying to make it with entrepreneurship, you need that push. It's called Speak to Your Season. So going through what you go through different seasons being an entrepreneur. You have your seasons where you're up and you have your seasons where, okay, God, what's going on? So that book was developed out of to push purpose. It was developed out of my journey being an entrepreneur, being in ministry, being behind the scenes working. So in every area of my life, I went through different seasons where God was speaking to me. I didn't understand the voice of God over my own voice, because you have three voices. You have your voice, you have God's voice, and you have the enemy's voice. It's easy to recognize the enemy voice because he's going to tell you everything you can't do. But when you have your will and God's will, it is hard to surrender your will to God's will. So this book kind of coaches you through understanding the voice of God and how his voice lines up with his word.
Now, is that how you began teaching young women and just women overall?
Well, I tell people your purpose, you've been pretty much doing it all your life. I've always been a mentor to people, even though they were like some young teenagers. They used to come babysit for me. Being a mom, you need babysitters. So
Exactly.
I will always end up pouring into them and ministering to them. So I've been pretty much doing it all my life, whether I wanted to or not. I never wanted to be a leader. Never. I kind of wanted to fit in, but never fit in, if that makes sense. My journey building my nonprofit with mentoring young ladies, it was actually birthed out of my own trauma with being a mom. Before, when my daughter is, she'll be 15 next month, so being a teenage mom is different.
It's different. My daughter's
It is
12. We can get you in
different. Yes.
there.
So that age around middle school, it was like our communication was off. I was in a rat race of life, just trying to find my purpose, figure out things. And I'm like, I can talk to everybody else, but I can't talk to my daughter. She ended up getting in some trouble in school, and I ended up homeschooling her. She has never been in any trouble, straight A student. And before I started homeschooling her, the principal and everybody was like, "You should work with girls. You should work." And I'm looking at them like, I don't have the time. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't have the time to do that. But they would see how I was so passionate about helping my own child that they were telling me. So I began to pray, and I'm like, okay, God, like, what do I need to do? And I started serving for a nonprofit. And in that nonprofit, it was geared towards women. But when I came, we opened up an avenue for me to start working in the schools and mentoring young girls. So I'm like, okay, I got
Now,
to do
did it feel like a gut check at first when they put it out there, or was it like a confirmation? Like, I'm running a little bit, but it's a confirmation.
It was definitely confirmation. It was definitely, I would say, a mixture of both, because it was like I should have been doing this, and then it was like God already told me to do it. So I tell people this: confirmation is just a sign of disobedience,
Woo.
because God already told you what to do, why you didn't do it. So whether it was fear, anxiety, or fear of failure, like all those things come into your mind to keep you from doing what He already told you to do. So yeah.
So now, when it comes to working from the root cause, because typically that fear is, or depression, anxiety is coming from either being concerned about the past, concerned about the future, and then never taking, staying stuck in that stagnant, fearful mindset. How do you work with your girls so they can move, give that push? I know you have your book, but what's that teaching like?
Definitely, I have a curriculum that's geared towards social and emotional learning. So with social and emotional learning, it helps them build their confidence. We say affirmations: I am beautiful, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I was created for purpose, I am enough. So when you start your day off and you're saying these positive things to yourself, you start to believe it. Your subconscious start to develop with your conscious mind. So it's like, oh, okay, this is what it is. So when all of that is aligned, then when people tell you, oh, you ain't all that, you already told yourself you were all that. So fear and anxiety and all of, and that depression comes from when you believe the lies of the enemy, when you believe the lies of people telling you you can't. When I started my entrepreneurship journey, I didn't have support. I didn't have people telling me, oh girl, you can make it. Da, da, da. It was like, what the heck are you doing? How are you going to do this? And I had no idea. I had no idea. My immediate family, they work, my sisters and brothers, they work 9 to 5s, you know? So it was like, I've seen that. I had an aunt that planted a seed when I was 15 years old to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know nothing about hair. She took a chance on me. I was in there as her assistant, washing hair, and I mean, being her shampoo assistant. I couldn't braid. So, shampooing hair, and your purpose is something you've been doing all along. So, the women coming in, they tell me their problems. I'm encouraging them, even though I'm 16, I'm going through myself, but I'm encouraging them. But she planted the seed of entrepreneurship at that age. But like I said, my immediate family, my mom, my sisters and brother, they work 9 to 5. So it was just like, okay, she planted the seed. So I just tell people, I don't get attached to the outcome when I mentor. I plant the seed. So now I'm living in the fruit of her labor where she planted the seed,
That's big. That's big. That's
where she
big.
planted the seed at 15 and I'm 34 and I'm just now getting it being an entrepreneur. But you can't get attached to the outcome of mentoring, because at the end of the day, it is a family collective job to do. As a mentor, sometimes it's a band-aid, sometimes it's a push, sometimes it's a seed. But when they go home, they may be dealing with traumas of their parents, and their parents sometimes have more influence than I do. And I have to be okay with. And when I first started, it was like, oh my gosh, like, you get attached to the outcome because you work with them and you're so close to them. And I got really invested in a lot of relationships. And then I turn back and look, and it's like, did they even listen to anything that I said? But that was me being attached to the outcome instead of planting the seed.
That's so major in like every relationship, because even as a manager, supervisor, a coach, anywhere, you may give all of the information and knowledge from your heart and look for those results. I want to push you, push you, push you, but you won't know what steps they'll actually go ahead and take on and then apply it to their life after you all are working together. So you never know. And it really is a seed that is planted. When it comes to faith and how you incorporate it into everything you're doing, how is that going for you? Like, what's your process?
Well, to be honest, I am who I am. Like, I'm not going to change who I am for nobody to fit in, none of that. So when I develop a relationship with myself and to God, I begin to be comfortable with who He created me to be. So now I have a business partner. One of my main business partners is Muslim. We don't believe the same, but we can come to a common ground to build a business. So I can work with anybody, but with working with people, you create boundaries. So certain things I'm not going to cross because it's going to create a problem. So as long as boundaries are established up front, you can work with anybody. You can. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not the most coachable person. It has to make sense. So when you know your personality, you tend to work with people. When you're building your team, work with people who are stronger in areas that you're weak in. Like, for me, my patience is like 0 to 10. Like, people say that I'm patient, but mentally I'm like, no. So I tend to put people on my team who love talking to people, who love, nurturing relationships. So I let them lead in the way that our team can thrive. I know how to lead from behind the scenes, and everybody don't know how to lead if they're not at the head of the table. I lead through serving. So through serving has opened doors for me that $1 million couldn't even open, you know? So I believe in serving my way, in serving my people, serving my team, and that's the way that I lead.
So when it comes to like building relationships and networking, do you often like attend events? Do you host events? Like, how do you bring it all together? Because you have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the entertainment industry, even as far as like being a federal agent, that's a big jump.
Yes, yes. Well, with my networking, I tell people, as an entrepreneur, you need to meet 3 new people a day. Whether you go to the grocery store, whether you go to the gas station, introduce yourself. Be comfortable with introducing yourself. I constantly invest in myself, whether it's a training, whether it's a class. You can never have too much knowledge. But the problem is, when you get the knowledge, are you applying it? So when I go on those trainings, I go on those classes, hey, how can we network? How can we collaborate? Network marketing teaches you ways how to build in other people's network. So I thank God for that foundation of network marketing, because it teaches me how to build teams on my own. I have teams where I serve at, like where somebody's telling me what to do, and teams where I'm telling people what to do. So as long as you keep those areas, like, I don't limit myself. I don't put myself in a box. I believe in God organically opening doors. Sometimes how He deals with me, it may be, I may go in the grocery store, He may tell me something because I'm a revelatory speaker. Um, God may give me something to tell someone. So it's like, oh, okay. I walk up to him, I tell him, and I don't get attached to the outcome. Now, whether you listen or not, God deal with me in areas of promotion. So anytime anyone getting ready to promote around me, or he wants me to meet, he'll tell me to go up to him. Is that easy? By no means. No means, because I remember times it was a situation, I think a couple weeks ago. Well, not really a situation. I remember going in the office and I was telling the young lady, oh, God, get ready to open doors. You about to get a promotion, da da da. And she's looking at me like, oh, I just got this job. I'm kind of happy. I'm learning my way. And I'm like, oh, okay. I know I heard God, but it could kind of do something to your confidence. So I went home and I prayed. 6 months later, now she's working with one of the biggest attorneys here in Atlanta. So I'm like, to God be the glory. I don't want you to remember me, but remember God said you was getting a promotion. So to God be the glory. So I don't ever want people to, so that's how my networks are built. God just organically put me in places. So I tell people, when you're walking in purpose, he's going to build a network. He's going to open the doors. He's going to put you on the stages. He's going to put you on a platform. All you got to do is walk in purpose.
What was so powerful about that, especially the part where you said the network marketing taught you really how to build that team. I've been in network marketing and it was like an aha moment. So not as much so powerful, but that was a real aha moment for me because network marketing really did teach me how to work with teams. And my business is virtual assistant, recruiting, and project management. And
Wow.
that really does play into what my life ultimately has, turned into me walking in my purpose and how you can really have that seed planted and then it just keeps blooming and you see how, oh, wow, this experience really turned into like God ordained walking. Like
Right.
that was so good. That was like a major aha moment.
Is what you're doing now. I just see God just opening so many doors for you. So don't take it for granted where you started. You know, always embrace the journey. Everybody want to get to the outcome, but it's the journey that developed the character. And I just want you to remember that, like, God is going to open some major doors with you doing this, with this platform. People lives are going to be saved. Moms are going to get their niche back. They're going to be emailing you and texting you and saying, you know what, your podcast changed my life. So don't give up because people are watching.
That is so, so important. And it's like the main message that I want all viewers to know and see. Like, when you see us up here, know that my first time talking about my business, I had an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Know that I was not a public speaker, somebody that said they wanted to do this. It took a year. And I think because in myself, I was afraid to get up here and do this. And as the time just went on, you know how God keep pulling on you. God not leaving you alone about it. Whatever that thing is, he's gonna keep pulling on you
Right.
until you take that divine action that was requested. And even though the timing may not seem right to you, it's a perfect time, like
For him.
to do exactly what work is meant to be done. And it's not too late. Like you can pick up from where you are and keep on going. Take your experience and your knowledge and keep going, y'all. Keep going. Whatever it is you're doing, keep going. And like whatever that seed is that was planted in you. What did you say? You were a teenager at that point when that seed was planted from your aunt. And you, now at 34, you are seeing it come to fruition. It's so important for us to keep going, take what our passion and experiences and keep going. I can keep going.
Definitely. When I tell you, I launched my book last year, but it was a year off. I took a year off because I had 3 car accidents. Last year I suffered 2 concussions, two major concussions last year. So my memory is not like it used to be. I have to write stuff down now, but you know, it you have to take high level. I have to take high level of magnesium because I've gotten off the medication consistently. So now I'm taking vitamins that have a high level of magnesium to help me focus and, you know, kind of stay on track with things. But I'm saying this to say it was a whole year I took off last year and I still was able to release my book. My book was written, but I was stagnant. Like you said, I was scared. Like, what if it failed? What if, you know, I have 4 books that I wrote that I just got to get together and publish. But it's like, what if I was in my head so bad, but when I released the book, so many lives were changed. So many people reached out like, oh my God, this helped me. So many women started their business. So many women started walking in purpose. So many men and women just started elevating after they read a book. So for me, I'm like, God, I went through all of that.
Just for you to tell me that I have a whole like slew of people that I could never even imagine that are waiting for me to release this baby that you put inside of me, raise this baby so they can be blessed and ultimately live in the life that you and in the purpose that you have for them and to be able to do the same and pay it forward. Like that is so big, like so big because why? Like myself, my son, he was diagnosed with autism last year, and I took a good amount of time off, and I needed to. And then I started to restructure the business from me being so hands-on doing everything to now changing it to where there's platform in place where everybody can network and market and do the things together versus me being in a place of I need to have my hands in everything. Like the seed that is planted and even the time that you have to take off, it just keep going.
Keep going. My daughter has I don't like to say she has it. I say she was diagnosed with autism. She's 7 now. What I did, she was diagnosed when she was 2 years old. She was nonverbal until she was, I think, 4, almost 5. And they were like, oh, she's not going to talk. She's not going to be able to function. She's not going to be able to walk. When I tell you she beat every that they said, to the point she's in school now and I have to tell them, hey, they said, in her medical record, she has autism spectrum. And they're like, was she misdiagnosed? Like, they don't see it.
Wow.
They don't see it. She's so high functioning, you wouldn't even know it. But that's because I'm like, God, you a healer. I applied the word of God over her life. I spoke over her life. I spoke positivity over her life. No matter what the doctors were saying, they told me things, but I came home and I did the work. I read to her. We read together. I put her in normal environments. I didn't treat her like she had a condition. And that's what helped. I plugged into the community where they were given the help. Like we went through Hope Bridge. That changed my life with the therapist. They changed my life. We became family. I was mentoring them. Now one of them, she just got her master's degree. So God just organically put people in our lives. So although they diagnose your son, you still do the work. You still pour into him. You still do what you need to do as a mom, because at the end of the day, God has the last say so.
And that's so encouraging because, and funny you said Hope Bridge, because that was exactly where I went first. And they were booked up at the time. And I was a little discouraged because they had the speech therapy, the occupational therapy, ABA, all in one location. And do you know, about 3 weeks ago now, we just did our evaluation there. So it is so funny that you would say Hope Bridge specifically because that's where I was looking. That is so wild. Look at God. But definitely to all moms that are going through any autism spectrum or any diagnosis of your child, know that God is a healer and that you trust in the healing and then do the work. Yes, you take the practical steps, maybe change the diet, do whatever detox and take whatever steps that you may need to take. But just because you got that diagnosis does not mean that's the end all be all. Oh, we'll be dealing with this forever. It's not. You're hearing a testimony right now of what was said, what was diagnosed, and then how miraculous God is, and what can actually work out when you stay the course, because we do as parents have to take specific steps to get the results we're looking for our children, advocate for them. So I don't have any resources on hand, but I will definitely continue to talk about the autism spectrum and just my daily life, what it looks like and how we're, still momming and doing everything.
Yes.
Still living life.
Still have to balance, because even now, my oldest is 14 and my youngest is 7. So sometimes my 14-year-old want to do things that's extra loud, but my 7-year-old can't handle it. So I'm glad we parent good. So I'll be like, okay, can you take Sky somewhere where I take Leah somewhere that's quiet? So just, it's good to have a team. It's good to have support. The main thing is when you're going through that with your children is having the support. I remember days I was like, oh my God, working a job, that was too, that pushed me into entrepreneurship. She had so many appointments. She had the occupational therapist. She had speech therapist. She had ABA therapy on top of her own allergies. She still has major allergies. So I'm going to 6, 7, 8 doctors a week. It's hard to work a job. And I was working second shift. So I'm like, God, this is too much.
How am I supposed to do
this? How am I supposed to be in all these places at one time? So, God has mysterious ways of doing things. So that made me, embrace parenthood a lot. Sometimes we can get in the rat race of life and we don't embrace wearing multiple hats. We don't embrace being a parent. And we look at, oh, it's a job. Yeah, it's a job, but embrace that, because the love and nurture that you give your children, and they go out in this mean, corrupt world, is worthy. It's worthy to have that foundation at home. Don't make your kids go through things and then have to go through things when they get outside the home, you know?
Yeah. And advocating for them to ensure, like with Amari, is ensuring his transitions work well for him.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a chaotic transition, which is going to make the rest of his day very
Right.
high functioning. And
Yeah.
it's really about advocating for our children every step of the way. What
Absolutely.
does balance actually look like for you as a mompreneur, as a mom?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I don't believe everything will balance out. You're going to have seasons where being a mom takes priority over your working. So you got to be able to be flexible and say, okay, now my child needs me more, more emotional support. So during that time when my child needs emotional support, I'm shutting everything down. I make that a priority. And then it's times where I need to dive in on work, and I'm like, okay, listen, mommy loves y'all, but I need 2 hours to get this done. So give me 2 hours. I'll take you where I need to take you, or we can go somewhere this next day. But right now, I need to lock in. So making sure that you communicate and they understand. My kids, they had to sacrifice a lot. They had to sacrifice a lot with me being an entrepreneur. They had to sacrifice a whole lot. So I had to learn, even though they sacrificed a lot, I didn't overcompensate, because sometimes we overcompensate when we're absent, and that's not good either. So just having that time and knowing, being sensitive to what you need to do and what takes priority, and learning how to delegate. When they get older enough, I believe in getting raising children to become young women. My girls, they know how to cook, they know how to clean up, they know, I'm going through a divorce now, but they know when their dad was here, okay, make sure he have his food, make sure he has everything he needs, he comes first. In the house, God comes first, but he comes first in the house. So just grooming them to be wives, to be mothers, to be whatever they choose to be, but the foundation starts at home. And for me, balance is doing what is priority. You got to know what's priority and what can wait. When we're going through the rat race of life, we feel like we got to be everything to everybody. And when we're everything to everybody, we can't be anything to ourselves. So taking that time out when I need self-care, taking that time, look, mommy needs an hour to talk to God. So if that means I got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can have that alone time with God, so that when I get the kids ready at 6:30 in the morning for school, I had that time that I needed for God to pour into me. So when I start my day off with him pouring into me and I'm meditating on the word and all of that, everything, I can't say everything be great, but I'm like, set the tone for today. So just setting that tone, that's important.
So what does it look like when you delegate now, especially with having multiple projects? How do you work like that delegation? And what was the journey to delegation?
Journey to delegation. Whoa. For me, like you, I wanted my hands in everything. And it's like, no, true leaders lead by example. So even though I'm helping out in with leadership at my church, so I delegate things from hospitality to sending out emails to, if it's the youth, if it's leading prayer. So I say, hey, I put a schedule together and this is what everyone is expected to do. So you learn how to just release it, and however it lands, you coach people. You coach people and you lead by example. So that's what delegation is for me. You realize that people's strengths that are around you, and you delegate them to the things that they're strong in. Because when you got a person who's not good at administration or good at customer service in a role of greeting, then that's not their gifting. So just putting people in areas that they're gifted in. Some people like working just in administration and really not hands-on with people. So I'm gonna put you in a position where you're just working behind the scenes. So realizing people's strengths and what their weaknesses, and cultivating them where they are weak and putting them in position. So
So when you actually work with, and I know you're in ministry and then you have your different platforms that you're working, how are you like scheduling your day? Do you time block? What does your actual scheduling look like?
Yes, I time block. So the kids are in, my children are in dance, they're in cheer, they're in gymnastics, they're in dance, cheer, gymnastics. I know I'm missing something, but right now they're in dance, cheer, and gymnastics. So I get their schedule and I already put them on my calendar. So when opportunities come, or for me to speak or me to whatever, because I've been speaking a lot lately, I line it up with what I have already on my calendar. So now I live by a calendar. If God don't tell me to do it, I'm not doing it. I turn down opportunities all the time. I'm not doing it. And for network marketing, it's on Saturday. So I have that time, that hour, or I put an hour in, and you just have to structure what's your availability. If I don't have no availability this week, I go by my mental capacity. What can my mental capacity hold this week? So if my mental capacity can't hold no class, no trainings, no nothing, everything shuts down. Everything shuts down. So you have to know your mental capacity and the time you need to pull back and the time you need to pour. So I base my schedule off on when I need to pull back and when I need to pour.
So for the mompreneurs or the aspiring mompreneurs that are looking into, hey, I'm interested in this venture, I have this experience, and they're not really sure what to do or how to get started, what advice would you give them on, hey, go this way, follow this path? What advice would you give?
What I would tell them to write down their goals, write down SMART goals, write down what you can achieve in the next 3 months, what you can achieve in the next 6 months, and your goal for the next year and the next 5 years. Once you write those down, write down your strengths. What are you strong in? What are the areas you weak in? What is going to help you get to your goals? And you focus on doing the things that's going to help you get your goal. So if you want to be a speaker, then you need to put in time. What do you want to speak about? What is your story? What is it that you want to convey to the world? What if you want to do a podcast? Okay, I want to do a podcast. How are you going to structure that podcast? Hire people in the areas that you don't want to do. Logos, when it comes to logos, it comes to flyers and all of that, I work with a digital marketing company. She knows that's not my strength. So she don't give me that. So for me, when I'm building my team, I'm not doing no logos, no flyers, and none of that. I'm about to pay somebody to do that type of stuff and learn what you need to learn. I think as moms, we overload ourselves because we can do so many things. And just know that mom is not your only hat. That's just one hat. Being a mom is not your only hat. So don't get caught up in a rat race. Oh, I'm a mom. I'm a mom. Yes, but what is your purpose? Your purpose is more than being a mom. So taking that time out, going to God and following your purpose. Why were you created? Spend that time with yourself to know why were you created and what you need to do to walk in purpose. Once you figure that out, start figuring out ways to be better while you have your goals ahead of you. You got your 6 months, your 3 months, your year goal, your 5 years. What can I do to make this better? Who do I need to network in? Put myself in uncomfortable situations. Now, for me, I do coordinate events. Planning events is not my strength. So I work with the event planner who has an agency and I do the on-site coordinating. Because sitting there talking to clients and I can't. So build your business off of what you're strong in and what you can delegate to people that are around you or that you may meet, that you can delegate. Don't feel like you can't start a business, because for me, I do PR work too. So I say I can't do no PR work because I don't like sitting on the phone. No, I'll put somebody in that place. I'll subcontract and stop trying to do, hello moms, stop trying to do everything. Stop
Not
trying
have
to
to
do
do
everything.
everything. No, that's major.
So for me, like with makeup, makeup saved my life. I love doing makeup. I love teaching now. So I don't open my books for calendars to book people like that. No, makeup is getting 20% of my time right now. So whether it's a client here and there or is me booking a class, it's only going to get 20% because I dictate my day. Makeup is not going to dictate my day. I became an entrepreneur for a reason, not to work. You can get caught up in working your business and you're supposed to be the CEO. I'm not moving from the CEO.
Delegation is so important. Managing your schedule, so important. Managing your mindset, so important. And really working from the root cause, like what's going on that's keeping you held back and stagnant. So start from there. That
Yep.
stagnancy, that pain and fear. Then move on up to that confidence and what's going on there. Okay, now let's get that schedule together so we can get organized. And then you find out, okay, get your Eisenhower matrix. What's the steps that you can actually take that need to be done right now that you need to do specifically? Something that can be scheduled for later. Then get that those things that need to be delegated can be delegated, even if you haven't really put it in your mind. I need to outsource anything. Now is the time to start thinking about it. Go in knowing that eventually, within 6 months, I want to ensure that I'm delegating some of these tasks. I got the system in order, and now I can delegate. And what needs to be thrown away, throw it away.
Absolutely.
You do not need it. If it's something that you identify as something that does not need to get done, get it off your calendar. If it's something that needs to be delegated for a later time, schedule that out. No, hey, in about 4 weeks, 6 weeks, then we can get to this. But scheduling is so important. And it took me a long time to actually accept that. It took a few bumps in the road and headbangs for me to get that as well. So go ahead and
Thanks for your best teachers. I tell people.
Listen, those lessons, apply them. Don't have to learn it again. Don't have to learn it again. Now, what would you tell your young self now that you've had these years of experience?
Girl, you got time. You got time. Work on personal development. Work on becoming a better you because you got time. That's what I would tell myself. You got time. We rush to be adults, and this adult thing ain't adulting. So I would definitely read more books, dive into personal development. So once I dive into personal development, once I reach where I need to reach, I'll know what I need to know. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
And do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to leave with the listeners?
Yes, I do. Actually, keep going no matter what the bumps are in the road. Don't get caught up in reaching the goal. Embrace the journey, because in that journey you're going to build the character, and once you build a character, when you get on those major platforms, if that's your desire, when the right doors open for you, you won't fumble the bag. And what I mean by fumble the bag, you won't make the mistakes, you won't do the things to jeopardize what God is giving you. So embrace the journey.
And where can we find you?
My Facebook is Chasmine Ayana, how it's spelled on the screen. My Instagram is I am Chasmine Ayana. I'm not a big Twitter person, but I do have a Twitter that's Chasmine Ayana, and TikTok. I don't do much on TikTok, but it's Chasmine Ayana.
It's been an absolute pleasure to take the time and get to know you and your journey, and everything that you shared is so powerful. And I just want you all to really go back and listen and catch these gems, because it's so important that we get these different phases of life and the organization of life in order as we are on this entrepreneurial journey. Our spirituality and our faith, what we're rooted in, very important on this entrepreneurial journey. So take all of these gems, go back, replay it, save it for later, and really soak it all in, take it in, and then begin to apply. This is Moms Behind the Brand. I'm your host, Chasmine Swinton.